Hello, my friends. My name is Adam. I stopped recording just now because I was trying to do the whole YouTube very fake enthusiasm and it didn't really work. So this is me. I'm not the most enthusiastic guy, but I am trying to be the most prolific reviewer of all time. And thank you for joining me on this journey. Today I'm reviewing a show called Barry, starring Bill Hader and Harry Winkler and Henry Winkler and Sarah Goldberg. Those are the main characters, although there are some other people as well. And this was one of only two shows that I made a conscious decision to stop watching. Not because I disliked it, but because I really liked the characters, at least the main character, and I didn't want to see what happened in the end. And I think I need to explain that a little bit. So the other show that I didn't finish was called Atlanta. And I didn't finish that one for similar reasons. I liked the characters and I was afraid what the ending of the show would be. So I didn't want to subject myself to and because the ending, you can see the ending in both of these shows. You can see the ending in Barry and you can see the ending in Atlanta. It's kind of being foreshadowed a little bit, and it's not that the ending is necessarily bad. It makes sense in the terms of the story, but emotionally, I don't want to handle that. And I think with Barry, the series I'm actually reviewing now, it came when. So, Barry is basically an assassin. He went to Afghanistan during the war in Afghanistan and he committed a war crime, basically. And because he committed a war crime, he was sent out of the army, which is probably not that realistic, honestly. Anyway, he was sent out of the army and he was depressed for a while because he murdered an innocent civilian. So he's depressed for a while, so he was trying to find some purpose in life, and then one of his family friends contacts him about becoming this hitman. And so he's very good at being a hitman. He can like murder people, no problem. He's very technically adept at being a hitman, but there's something missing in his life, and he feels like he wants more. So the first episode of the series is that they're from Cleveland, Barry and his friend, and they get sent out to LA to kill an aspiring actor who is sleeping with a mobster's wife. And the mobster is this Chechen guy. So there's like a Chechen gang. And a lot of the characters who don't have big roles are performed by excellently by great actors and actresses. I don't remember her name, but the actress who played Janet in The Good Place is in this, and she's really good, but she doesn't have much to work with. And Sarah Goldberg is really good too. Okay, so then he is going to kill this actor, and he follows the actor into like his kind of acting class, and people mistake him for a potential acting student, and he decides that actually he really likes acting, and so he joins this class, and he's still a hitman, but he's in the acting class, and there's some kind of like very humorous moments connected to that, and he basically starts a relationship with another. So Barry is played by Bill Hader, and he starts a relationship with the character played by Sarah Goldberg, um, whose name is Sally Reed. And so there's kind of like an A plot, which is Barry coming to terms with the fact that he is a psychopath. He's not a psychopath because he feels remorse, but he is an exceptionally violent man, and that's why he does this. And he maybe he doesn't have remorse about killing strangers, but he has remorse about how it would affect people who love him, how it would affect people, how they would see him. So that's one plot line. And the other plot line is that you have Sally, who is this woman, who's this actress, and she wants to be like a big star, and she goes on this kind of journey where she gets a chance to be a television star. But, and this is where I stopped watching, she has a relationship with Barry, which is very similar to her relationships before in her life, and she has been in abusive relationships. So, Barry, I don't think is. There's a scene where Barry is like not mentally well, and he's yelling at Sarah, not Sarah. I forgot what her name is. I called her Sarah, but is her name really Sarah, the character? Sally. Her name is Sally. Sorry. So he's yelling at Sally, and you feel this kind of like, this is wrong, something is wrong, and he's yelling at her like in front of all of these people. And so they kind of think about it like, oh, she has this pattern of abuse, he's abusive, we should do something, and they end up not doing something. So I think that Sally's story is actually pretty interesting because, you know, it's at the intersection between Hollywood and all of these like vain people and all of these things. So it works really well for Sally. And yeah, so as I said, I stopped watching when that relationship got a lot darker, I think in the third season. And basically Barry's character becomes darker in the third season. And it makes sense because logically, if you spend time murdering people and you're not a psychopath, and Barry isn't a psychopath, that's going to have consequences on your life, right? So the show was starting to show these severe consequences on his life, and I didn't really like that very much because it's also very, very funny. And I'm going to spoil this a little bit, but I think even if you see it, you will enjoy this, even if I spoil it. So, Barry murders a police officer. And the reason he murders a police officer is because the police officer is dating his acting coach. And they get invited to a kind of like romantic weekend at a lake house. And Barry does something which he kind of like raises her suspicions. So she goes back and like looks him up, and she sees that he is connected to some people who died, and that's kind of complicated. But anyway, she figures out that he is the actual murderer that she's looking for, and she attempts to arrest him. So Barry kills her, and that becomes like something that will be a part of the plot going forward in future seasons. But anyway, the point that I wanted to talk about, the thing that I wanted to talk about was there is this point where where he, you know, kills the detective, and then another detective, that first detective's partner, is looking for this killer. And you kind of think about that he is kind of going to catch him and put him in prison. And that's the way the story is unfolding. But when the detective actually catches Barry, it's clear that he wants to hire Barry for his own job because Barry is a hitman. So that job is just crazy, and I think it's the funniest thing I've seen on a television show in a while. And I was watching Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt, which is a comedy, and I stopped watching because I thought that it was getting worse, which is another reason I stopped watching things. But I found things in that very funny, and I was like laughing like haha. But in this scene that I'm about to tell you, it's like a few scenes together, I was like, maybe I wasn't laughing haha, but in my soul I was like, oh my god, that's so hilarious. So basically there is this guy who is sleeping, well, with this detective's ex-wife. And the detective wants Barry to kill this guy. So Barry is trying to be this good guy, and he's like, you can, so I've been hired by this detective to kill you, but I think that if you have family somewhere, you could go and you could stay there for like a year and just lay low, and then he'll probably forget about it and blah, blah, blah. But this guy is this Taekwondo like Olympic champion, and Barry's a good assassin, but he's not a great fight. He's a good fighter, but he's not like a great fighter. And this Taekwondo guy is like a really great fighter, and they have this huge fight, and it's really good. It's not very cinematic. It's not like Enter the Dragon. It's not like Enter the Dragon or something, but it is really good. And because basically this guy is like this character that won't die, and finally Barry thinks so. I don't know, like they struggle, and somehow the character gets his throat, his like windpipe crushed, and he can't talk. And he couldn't talk before, but he can't really talk now. I mean, he didn't talk before, but now he can't talk, and he's like dying there. So Barry thinks he's dead, and he's like, okay, well, that didn't go very well, but he's dead, so I guess there's nothing I can do about it that now. And then he goes to leave, and then this feral, and you might think I'm exaggerating, but this literal feral child in this Taekwondo uniform attacks him, and it's like, like 12-year-old girl, 13-year-old girl, something, and like beats the crap out of Barry, stabs him, and he's dying. And then Barry goes to like the car, and he's like, we gotta get out of here, and basically his friend, who, has been the point man for his jobs as a hitman, says something like, oh, we have to go back and kill her. And then then he sees that she's on the roof, and this whole thing, like, so basically Barry says she's not human, and then there's more and more evidence that she's not human. And so basically you see later there's like this press conference of the police, and they say, because this corrupt detective actually comes along, and he wants to shoot Barry and this guy, to make it look like some kind of self-defense thing. But this guy, the Taekwondo guy, kills the detective, and so the conference is basically like the police chief saying, yeah, the corrupt detective was killed by this Taekwondo guy. You're like, what about the girl? You didn't interview the girl? So the girl is like still out there somewhere being a feral child. So really hilarious. I mean, it maybe doesn't sound hilarious like I'm explaining it, but it's like literally the funniest thing I've watched in quite some time. So I would recommend the first two seasons. I think there's 5 seasons, so if you have a strong will and you don't mind your main funny character kind of being really realistic and traumatized by the choices of his own actions, then you could check it out. So yeah, I want to emphasize that I'm finishing the series not because it's bad, because I think it is really good. It's good writing, it's well acted, but I just think it's going to places that I don't want to go, which is fair. And I think that's a valuable life lesson. You don't need to be a completionist, right? Like, if you like something and you're enjoying it, keep on doing it, especially if we're talking about like art, like film, books, whatever, video games. But if you don't like it, don't force yourself to watch something just because you should, right? You know, yeah, that's my life lesson for today. Anyway, thank you for watching my review. If you want to support the channel, you can do that by subscribing. I'm trying to get to 500 subscribers by the end of March, and we have 454. I think we stalled a little bit over the past few weeks, but that's fine. We can do it. So yeah, if you like what I do, subscribe. And you could also like leave a comment what you think about Barry, or maybe here's a question to end with. Is there some show that you thought was really good, but you stopped watching it because you couldn't take how you thought it was going to end? All right. And if you're listening on Spotify, please give me a follow. All right. Thank you. Bye-bye.